Hey, Diego. What's happening?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks
Very
for having
excited,
me.
actually.
I'm stoked. Small
Nice.
world. Look where you're at.
Yeah, amazing. It's pretty amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Why don't you tell the viewers or the listeners a little bit about you? Because I actually been really keen on having you here, and maybe they should know as well a little bit about you and your expertise and knowledge.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been in a journey since I was 16 years old on going really deep into marketing, digital strategy, and branding. So that has been sort of like always my background. At 16 years of age, I started in an agency where we were working with large brands like Samsung, Red Bull, Warner Bros., helping them to understand what is the opportunity for them within esports, right? And that's basically 2007, 2008, right? So it's a minute ago. Esports was not necessarily a thing. Gaming was, a thing for nerds and geeks and not as cool as it is today. Or at least perceived from a society perspective like that. So I started on that, and there I found my passion. Understanding sort of like that tripod of value of what is in for what is happening in the culture, how technology is impacting it, and what is the opportunity for brands within that space. So I've spent all my time on that, my whole career. Fast forward to 2017, I got into blockchain. Through obviously initially Bitcoin and then other projects in different, ways and sides of the industry. And from there on, I also tried to figure out, what is the cultural movement here? How does technology impact that? And how I can, help brands taking advantage of it. But if you look back to 17, we were in a very different market, very different, ecosystem. A lot of that was connected to the ICOs back there, the Ponzinomics, all the pump and dump that we went through. And it was very technical. As a marketeer, I couldn't get myself into that industry. And then you fast forward to 2021 with the rise of NFTs. I got into NFTs about May 2021. I was working at Adidas in the headquarters in Germany.
Where? Excuse me, just
Adidas.
Adidas.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Exactly.
Sorry.
People in the US or other countries say Adidas and Germans say Adidas.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
everyone
always
have
that's always the jazz. Yeah.
different pronunciation.
Yeah,
no,
because
what
it's
is it?
Adi Dassler, right? That's the name of the founder.
Oh, okay.
So Adidas.
Adi Dassler.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
the
good.
name of the guy that
Can I-
actually founded. For sure. So I was there working in the company for 4 years as an external partner, external consultant. And in the meantime, we built into the metaverse, which was a huge product for Adidas, a huge project for the NFT space as a whole. Was the first brand that came in and did something impactful. We made 24 million in 24 hours, and every other brand, Fortune 500, was looking at that and saying, now there is a use case for us to look at. Now there is something for us to do within the space. And then 2 weeks after, Nike acquired Artifact, and the rest is history. It's been quite a lot happening within that space within these last 2 years. So that's kind of like how I went from being in this marketing side of things all the way through blockchain and now being full-time in Web3 for the last 2 years. That's all I do. I don't work in any other industry if not Web3 right now.
Amazing. Can I ask you about this campaign, Adidas campaign, in 2017?
2021, yeah.
Oh, it was in 2021.
2021,
the campaign.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So what was the campaign? They released shoes or something? Was
basically
I'm trying to remember what.
Sure, it was called Into the Metaverse, and basically what we did at the first step was partnering with 3 different big NFT projects at the time. So Bored Ape Yacht Club, so we bought an ape back there. We partnered officially with their brand, with Pixel Vault, which is another project as well from the space, and representative of the CryptoPunk community, which is G-Money. So we partnered with them, and the initial thing we've done was dropping an NFT, right? It was literally an NFT that represented almost like a pass into the world of Adidas, the new world of Adidas within, sort of like that digital Web3 spectrum. And then from there, that product kept evolving, right? We had phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and now there are things tied with products as well. They rebrand from Into the Metaverse to something else, and now they're expanding a whole new umbrella for Adidas as a brand, almost like another logo or another franchise within the brand that is based off Web3 technologies and blockchain technology as well.
Okay, so it was all a Web3 campaign, and was it? Did it had some point of view for fashion or something that relates to their clothing? You get like your yeah, like a shirt or like a shoe
Yeah.
on and as an NFT or a PFP. What was the style?
Yeah, so phase one, which I was part of
Yeah.
of the strategy and building within a team, and then I left the brand, at the launch of phase one, so I can speak to that. Phase one was basically you could claim three things with your NFT, right? You claimed a beanie, which had the logo of the brand and also the partners, a hoodie that was super cool because you actually have the transactional hash inscripted on the actual hoodie, right? Which is pretty cool, and also like a tracksuit, like a green, not green, but sort of like a yellow, glow in the dark, super out there
Okay.
tracksuit. So people that have bought that NFT and held throughout the snapshot were able to claim those three pieces of garment physically, and they got sent to people's home. Yeah.
Okay, like wow, that's
So that was phase
cool.
one, right?
That's
and then
super cool.
from phase two, there was an evolution, and for phase three now, there's a lot of conversations around PFPs and things. But all I know is I'm watching from the outside as everybody else through Twitter and their announcements.
Sorry, I'm just adding something that I had. I'm just getting. I want to pick your brain and something, but I'm gonna put it later. Okay, many of the people that listen to these interviews have no clue whatsoever about the world of the metaverse and the world of crypto and the world of NFTs, in general. So, can you give the viewers and me your take, your perspective on the evolution of things? I'm talking about like way back in Satoshi days. I mean, if that's your, I assume you have this foundation until the Web3 and the metaverse, and how everything is connected.
Yeah, super interesting. So if you look back, the sort of like the white paper release from Satoshi through Bitcoin, that's where, not necessarily the invention of blockchain, but the first time that we got to see something that fundamentally has created value on how that technology is used, right? And that was through cryptocurrency, right? A new way of transferring money to each other, a potential new way of building an entire new financial system, a potential way of hedging investments and value for money. So that initial sort of like, let's say, mainstream kickoff that was back in 2009 has created a very strong movement around cryptocurrencies, right? We heard and see a lot in the media about Bitcoin and how many people got millionaire by being able to buy at 50 cents and sell at 69,000 like last year when it was at its peak. But that is sort of like the beginning and the most known use case of blockchain, which is cryptocurrencies or digital money, right? And from there, obviously, we had thousands of different iterations of the usage of that technology for other currencies as well, but also for bigger things, right? So if you look, for example, at Ethereum, which is one of them, we are now looking to an entire ecosystem that is being built that is based on decentralized technologies on which you can add applications on top, right? So if you think about your phone and the applications you have in your phone and the way they are backed by databases which are centralized and closed, for example, Amazon Clouds and Google Clouds and different services that are holding this information. The difference is that, I'm just using Ethereum as an example, but there's another 1,000 projects out there that we could use as well, is that those ecosystems are now facilitating, couple core element things that are really exciting in how it shapes the web forward, right? So one of the first things is the decentralization element of data, right? So you don't have one entity that sort of like controls like Google does or like Amazon does or like Facebook does data from billions of people when they can decide to do whatever they want with that. So you start going towards that side of the decentralized element of that through the technology that was invented back or got mainstream back in 2009 through Bitcoin. You have privacy preserving mechanisms that are implemented within those technologies as well, which is extremely important, especially if you see how our current web works, right? If the product's free, you are the product, and we are the product for all those big tech companies, because there is no privacy. There is not a way on which you are not being exploited by those companies when you're signing up for their services, right? So that's something that's coming on top of that element.
If you're not paying for something, if you're not paying for a product, you are the product.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You know?
Exactly. I'm just empowering that. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what's exciting, and this is coming almost like as an evolution of how those databases and servers operate, and how that's sort of like peer-to-peer distributed, where if you're running a computer with a certain software on, you can become part of that decentralized server, And all of that, and I don't want to get too technical because it can be boring, but all of that is shaping one fundamental thing right now, which is the next iteration of the internet, right? Because if you look at the web, we started the web, through large computers, very difficult to connect, and very few services. And then we moved to a second iteration of that web through a lot of those big techs, Google, Amazon, Meta, and all those different providers, which sort of like interconnected the web and helped us to sort of like scale connectivity and e-commerce and all those different things that we do nowadays. But we are going towards another evolution of that, because the web has to keep evolving, right?
Yeah.
It cannot stop as anything else within tech. And a lot of people believe, and I'm a strong believer as well and stand behind it, that this next evolution of the web is going to be that will basically have blockchain as the backbone, right? So we will go towards a new evolution of the web, which blockchain is going to be the backbone of that, replacing or sometimes working as a hybrid with other servers or other databases that will enable us to do things that today it's pretty difficult or not necessarily as efficient as it could be.
Yeah, I understand. I from just to add something that my perspective is that Web 1, at least from my understanding, was a user going into a page and reading or watching images, and this was like
it's like the yellow pages online, right?
Yeah, the most simple approach ever. You go, you see, and you read. And Web 2, it was user generated.
Yeah.
So the users can now open a page on Facebook, add the information he wants. And Web 3 is basically getting the middleman out of the equation in a way.
In a way, you get the decentralization aspect of that, but most important, there are two other things. One is privacy preserving, as I said before, and the other one is ownership.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think about
ownership, that's a key thing. Yeah.
That's the key thing, because if you think about, like, look around in the physical world we live in, right? Well, like, we own a bunch of shit, right? Cars, clothing, housing, tables, glasses. But then if you look in the digital world, where we are spending more and more time on, and we are bridging the gap between physical and digital more and more, we don't own shit.
No,
we don't own
nothing.
anything.
Like, this video will be owned by YouTube.
Exactly. As soon as you upload, you were agreeing with the terms and conditions of the platform, which means they have full ownership over it. They can take it down, they can monetize, they cannot monetize, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, they can change the whole relationship, the whole agreement every time they want.
All the time.
So in the very near future, let's say 2, 3, 4 years, do you think platforms like YouTube, or there will be a surge of other platforms similar to YouTube, that you can generate content and you will be the owner, you will be the official owner, meaning that if it get monetized, you will get 100% of the monetization, or you will have all of the control about it? Is that something that is coming to be?
It's already happening.
Yeah,
it's already happening. There's many different platforms out there. Of course, they're not
as mainstream
or any close to what those platforms are, because they have market monopoly and everyone is on there, and not everyone understands what's happening with Web3. Not everyone has wallets, and there's a lot of tech barriers for us to get there. But from a vision perspective, exactly what you just said is already being implemented and executed in a very small scale, but it's already there, right? You have, for example, music, which is super interesting. You can actually, instead of just pay Spotify $10 a month and don't own any of the music and don't have any, you know, connection with the artist whatsoever because they're sitting in the middle. Now there are already platforms on which you can buy the track directly from the artist, like we would do with CDs and all those things, and you actually have ownership of that, right? And you own that song, you own that track, and there's many different ways on which artists are using to crowdfund, you know, release of new albums, or how they're going directly to their community and engaging with them, and you know, rewarding them to go to concerts and stuff like that. So that's music. You have a similar model within the film industry that you know, because the fundamental thing is not necessarily just the platform per se, but is the industry, right? The big problem is if you want to get your music played on the radio, you need to bow down to the music industry. And you need to sign those crazy agreements of like, they take 80% of the revenue or 70% of the revenue and you keep with the rest, although you are the artist, right? So this technology is coming to shift that relationship, to go and to allow people going, or artists going directly to the consumer, directly to the community, and cutting the middleman, you know, and there's a lot of successful artists already going towards that direction.
Do you think we will maybe see a U-turn in the big tech giants? I mean, I'm speculating something. It might be crazy, but maybe one day Google or Facebook will decide to sort of decentralize their mechanism in a way that it will be more efficient for the end user to have. So like my question is, do you think in order to compete with decentralized organizations, in a way, decentralized apps or decentralized services, YouTube will and Facebook will give this give the user the opportunity to own their own stuff?
The market's going to dictate.
Exactly.
The market's going to dictate. As long as there's demand for that, which means they will need to change business models to, you know, to offer to that demand, that will happen. But the market's going to dictate, right? Will people want to have that? Yes or no? Will people strongly desire ownership of their, you know, digital assets? Like, we will see.
Because
right?
imagine like OpenSea.
Right.
Okay, OpenSea is a marketplace for Web3, for NFTs mostly. So imagine something like that for videos, in a way. So that they still earn. They're still very powerful company, OpenSea. Actually, in 2020 or 2020, the CEO of OpenSea was considered to be one of the top 5 or top 10 most influential people in crypto, in the whole space. So just imagine, so there is potential for those companies. It doesn't mean that the management and the CEO wouldn't earn nothing. They can always have some cut for supplying the infrastructure, but it just needs, as you said, the market needs to dictate that. But I'm thinking that could be an option, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, the next question you need to answer is, since all those companies I mentioned before, especially the Web 2 companies, are publicly traded, all what matters is growth and making investors happy.
Yeah.
Right? And that comes through making more money.
Yeah.
So that's all what's going to come down, right? Can we make more money doing that or this? Where can we make more money, right? It's not going to be about the customer experience. It's not going to be about how we incentivize creators, how we give more money to creators, how we share a part of it. All it's going to be about how can we generate more money to investors, right? Which I'm not saying that Web3 is here to save the world and is going to change the way that we operate in a macro economy, because it won't. We already seeing, you know, a lot of those platforms being VC backed, or, you know, big found companies behind them. So it's an evolution. It's not the end destination, but it's shifting slightly how things operate. But it's far from perfect. I just want to make that clear, right? Because we are not going to a utopian world where people start thinking about everybody else, if not them and their investors and the circle.
It makes more sense that if you upload something to the internet, and I gave my father-in-law once in some sort of an analogy. So imagine he's in the other side of the world, and I'm sending him a photo of my child, you know, his grandchild. And this photo is basically moving from my phone to a server in Europe, a server in Portugal, then to the main server of Vodafone, then to a main server of Europe, then, just traveling millions of computers, or I don't know, millions, but few. And then eventually he gets the end photo, but the whole way, everyone has their own copy.
Right.
Every computer has its own copy.
Right.
So it makes sense that if I want to send him something, it actually makes more sense that if I'm sending him something for Christmas, like here is so like sending a postcard.
Yeah.
So you send a postcard by mail, you don't have the postcard anymore. You give it it's traveled by mail, and the end user gets it. Oh, it's nice. It makes more sense this way instead of having an endless duplication of your data,
100%. Makes tons of sense.
Yeah, that's
tons of sense. And that's kind of like that privacy preserving element we mentioned before,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Which
so when you say privacy, people think, oh, someone is going to hack into my computer, but this is not.
No.
This is actually different. This is actually preserving your assets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also personal information, right? Like, for example, simple example, you go to a website that sells alcohol beverages, right? Let's say, I don't know, whiskey. You go to that website and they ask you your birth date, right?
Yeah.
And you need to input that information to be able to access the website or not. It's a law, I understand, makes sense. But they need you to put your birth date there, date, month, and year, to prove that you can access that, and who knows? I'm sure that data is being compiled with everything else you've done before, right? Because of cookies, because of different tracking mechanisms, they're enriching their data pool to be able to retarget ads to you, which we love. We want to see the stuff we want to see, right?
Yeah.
But it's a way that every information you're giving away, it's basically being compiled as a mega monster of information from you, from your personal personal information, and are being used through those companies to make money on top of you. You're not making any money with it, right?
Yeah.
Now, the interesting element of that, privacy preserving, which again, not to get too technical, but there is a technology that's called zero knowledge proof, which is ZK for short, which is leveraging blockchain technology and Web3 technology, is that you have the same experience, but you're not giving or having to give away the information. So for example, you have a website, you sell whiskey. I go to your website, and the question is, are you older, or are you above or under 18 years old? The answer you need to get is a yes or no. You don't need to understand my birthday date and other personal information, name, zip code, and all that shit, right? What you need to be able to legally run your business is a yes or no question, yes or no answer, right? So with that technology, what can happen is you can give a detailed information. The server in between issues a confirmation with a yes or no answer.
Yeah, I understand.
And it keeps everything else it's not passing anything else forward.
I understand.
So that
basically,
is
you have
exciting.
a token. You have a token in a way, and your digital token gives the service provider the required data without breaching into your personal.
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost like a proof of whatever, right? Proof of age, proof of address, proof of name, proof of gender, proof of whatever you need to prove. But the answer at the other side is a yes or no.
Yeah,
they don't need to know your zip code to know that you live in Portugal. Are you a Portuguese resident? Yes or no. I don't need your passport. I don't need your NIF. I don't need your ID and all of that. It's a yes or no. And that's where we start getting to interesting elements of that privacy preserving that goes way beyond than what you said, just being about hackers and things on that nature.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I want to touch on another subject. There is a big buzz now about crypto gaming.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like the elephant in the room. Do you think crypto gaming has such a huge potential? If so, why? And of course, you can give your perspective from your personal, Web3 perspective.
Yeah,
obviously,
So the way I'm looking at that is, I'm not a huge gamer. I don't fully understand the industry. But I've worked on that industry for about 4 years back on a day, right? So that's my gaming knowledge. But the biggest thing I've learned from playing games and from being for a short period of time within the gaming industry is that the most important things that games have to be is to be fun.
Yeah.
Right? If a game is fun, it's going to succeed. If the game is not fun, it doesn't matter the technology, the mechanics, the haptics, VR, AR, steering wheel, like it doesn't matter. If it's not fun, people won't play it, right? So if you look from that perspective, the last 2 years or 3 years even from Axie Infinity and other games that were built, natively within Web3 and cryptocurrency, the main incentive for people to play that was financial, right? Like you played to earn. The term was created,
you think,
right?
Because I know a few people that got really addicted to Axie Infinity. I really like it. Some people. I mean, don't know why, but
it's a matter of taste at the end of the day, right? Are you having fun with this or not? But being really honest, everything I have seen, it feels like almost like just slotting machines.
Maybe they got addicted to making some money from it. Yeah,
And I'm not like shitting on Axie Infinity is one example, but it's just because it's the most famous. But the main point for me is that most of those games they were focused on making money, right? So you come here, you buy a piece of land, and then you can do this thing, and there's this token, and you can farm this token, and you can stake this item, and if you show up every day, you can claim a little bit, and then you can go to Uniswap or Sushi or whatever, and you can swap that to any other cryptocurrency, and you can exit that. The game always will reward early players and early investors, and it starts feeling like a Ponzi, right? Like bring more people so the early ones can exit, right?
Yeah.
So I think that the overall idea of blockchain-based games makes a lot of sense, and we are seeing that becoming more and more mature as our industry matures as well, specifically that part of the industry, right? But I would say that majority of the things I have seen within this last 2 to 3 years, were much more focused on the financial incentive rather than the fun. Now, there are companies that have been building gamings within this industry for a very long time now, and we start to see their releases, initial plays, gameplays. It's amazing. But what they're doing is very clever because they didn't fall in love with the technology. So the technology is not at the forefront. They fall in love with making a good game that people want to play and that's fun. And by the way, you can do things now because of this technology that you couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Which is super exciting, right? Ownership of assets. It blows my mind every time I see people on Instagram or whatever, saying that someone just bought a skin on Counter-Strike for 150 grand and they don't own that skin.
Yeah.
Right? They have no ownership. If Counter-Strike or the company behind it changes their mind tomorrow and that skin is no longer supported, that 150 grand is worthless.
You can also be just tired of Counter-Strike and just leave the game.
You know? That's what I'm saying. So in that sense of ownership and being able to trade and buy and have ownership and be able to have marketplaces and all of that, like that makes so much sense.
It's funny that you mentioned Instagram now because I want to talk about Instagram and NFTs, and I wrote it here down below. Do you remember the little phase that Instagram put? You can connect your NFTs and you can show them on your grid in a way.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And do you know why it just didn't work at all and it became like a big flop in the end and they cancel it?
Yeah. So first of all, it's sketchy as fuck, right?
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're literally, because the journey was the following. You go to Instagram, they announce there's a new feature being beta test, whatever, and then you were prompted to connect your wallet with Meta and with Instagram. Meaning everything you've done with your wallet on all those decentralized platforms that being doing things on DeFi, decentralized finance, buy NFTs, all the money, all the on-chain transactions, everything you've done anonymously, now you're being prompted to connect all of that with your personal account, where you have photos, where they have crazy amount of information from you, and now you connect the two, and then you have the perfect match. Super sketchy, right? So that was when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's a bad idea, right?
Yeah, okay.
And now to the second fold, I think that you know, as we spoke before, it's about market demand. To be able to afford new features and keep them running within large platforms like those, it needs to make extremely sense for the user base and for the customer experience, right? And I don't think that thing did, right? For the Instagram user, maybe people didn't care about NFTs, or maybe it was too early, or maybe they won't care, or maybe now they do. But usually those are beta features. They test those things in different markets every day. You know, even at Adidas when I was working there, we have an app that you can buy stuff, and every day we would test new features, and some of them would work, others wouldn't. The ones that wouldn't, we would kill. Or maybe we have a KPI that we haven't reached, and you know, you kill, you go to the next thing. So I wouldn't like see that as a huge market sign.
Of course not.
You know,
yeah,
but I think my assumption will be is a feature that didn't got much demand behind. Because if you go to Twitter, for example, till today, even though now it's X and everything has changed, a lot of the infrastructure and architecture has changed, you can still put an NFT there, right? So, and on Twitter, there's much more NFT enthusiasts than on Instagram.
I thought it would be like a really. I speculated it will be a success because what people show on Instagram, I mean, what people love to show their yachts, their Rolexes, their new Maserati, their expensive luxury flights, whatever. And this would be like, hey, look at my new ape or my new CryptoPunk.
Flex,
Yeah, exactly. And why? And I thought it will work, but I think the audience didn't really mature to that area yet, and also they really they put it out there like in a super like it was pretty bad times for the space back then.
But you know, like just to build on top of that, because I love what you just said, what's happening right now, and that's what is exciting, and I know we're gonna get to that, like the whole metaverse and immersive experience stuff, but the way you and I grew up on our generation, right? Millennials, as you were also under that bucket. We went from desktop to mobile, right? That was our like shift on platform or experience in the web. Meaning, if a company is not doesn't have a responsive website, or it doesn't have an application that helps you to do what you want to do, you're bouncing, right? You're not staying around. You're not sort of like checking and. So what's happening within the whole metaverse immersive experience and gaming-based experience, especially with Gen Z and Alpha, is that they are growing on immersive experience. They're growing up in a 3D internet, that they are connected with their friends. They call people friends even though they never seen their face, never heard their voice, because they play Roblox with them, or they play Fortnite with them, or they are living on those 3D worlds, right? These immersive experience worlds. And what's going to happen next is exactly what happened to us. They're going to migrate from the 2D internet, which we live in those boxes and screens and phones, and you know everything is 2D, to this 3D immersive experience world.
Okay.
And as that shifts, the time that they are spending digitally as well has increased. And you know, you have kids that don't know what age they are, but depending on the age they are, or their friends, or someone in your family, they're valuing more digital assets over physical. For Christmas, a lot of those kids are not asking for a bicycle. They're asking for Robux, or they're asking for a new skin on Fortnite, or they're asking for some digital asset in-game platform, right? So as the value of digital assets either pairs or suppresses the physical element, exactly what you just said about people flexing digital things will change as well. Yeah. Because those generations won't be interested in having like a Ferrari, a Bugatti, and flexing around. They're gonna flex 150,000 euros skin that they bought on Counter-Strike instead.
Yeah, like a new character on World of Warcraft or 100%. Something on our
100%, and that relationship is gonna change, and therefore technologies like NFTs that enable proof of ownership and interoperability or using these in different platforms will mature and make more sense because the demand's going to get higher.
I understand. Super cool, man. Super cool. Another thing, if I'm just a random guy or a girl listening to this, how can I plan ahead and actually be active and not take initiative, be active in this medium outside of investing in tokens and holding NFTs and just I'm talking about literally doing something.
Yeah, I always say the same.
Building, as everyone says.
Building, yeah.
You know that, like that's. What are you doing now? I'm building.
Yeah, I love that. I always say the same thing. Like you just learn how to drive a car by driving a car.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the only way. You can watch videos about driving cars. You can go in tutorials about how driving cars. But
you can need to go to a driving school.
You go to driving school and they teach you and you watch those videos. But the only way you're gonna learn that really is by doing and by driving the car. So if you feel that you are interested in this specific industry, that's gonna be the way, right? Partaking, being part of communities, being active. I wouldn't recommend like going investment first, right? Like I wouldn't say put your money down and like make sure that your money's out there, because as soon as you put money down on those things, you are starting to become a speculator rather than just an enthusiast.
Yeah.
Because you want to make money. If you put your money down on Bitcoin today, you want Bitcoin to be twice as more value than when you bought, because you want to make money of that thing, right?
Yeah.
And you start losing the interest on, but like, how is Satoshi's paper? Why people really enjoy that? How does this work? Ordinals, what is that? Other things, like how do they work? Why they operate? How is this ecosystem? So you look much more on like, okay, what's the next thing is gonna pump? Oh, meme coins, cool. Let's make some quick, easy money, right? So that's usually what I don't recommend. First, like, get to understand the fundamentals, the basic, go into the different pillars within that industry, stay super, high level, and then let's say you understand what blockchain is, you understand what DeFi is, you understand what DAOs is, you understand what smart contract, how the smart contract works, super high level, right? You don't need to go super deep. And then within that, I would recommend you finding one zone of interest, an industry, or is that art, is that music, is that sustainability, is that logistics, is that fashion, whatever it is. Find one industry that you're really passionate about, and there you double down. Because then if you put time enough behind that specific industry, within that niche technology that we still are at, fast forward 5 years, it's very likely, if you're passionate about it and if you put the work, it's very likely that you're going to be top of mind in the planet, because we're super early, and we keep saying that. But I would recommend going niche. I would recommend, finding something you're excited. There's photographers right now, you potentially could put that in this building, that are NFT photographers, right? Super small community, but there's some top tier NFT photographers that have made millions with their art that they would have never ever done before if it wasn't because of this technology. Yeah. Right? There's a generative artists as well doing similar things with this technology, right? Not a lot of them, but really great people that are doing incredible work. And they choose that niche and went on that niche, and their career will never be as successful as if they would have not chosen this technology. So I think that niche element is important. Yeah. And the building element is interesting, because from an entrepreneurship point of view, there is a lot of different ways you can go into this market. The biggest challenge is how do you keep it up with the latest? Because it's cutting edge every day, right? Like 6 months ago, AI was not necessarily important for any of those equations within business. Now it's mandatory, right? So like, boom, everybody's shifting and pivoting business model towards that direction. Quantum computing is in the corner. Spatial computing from Apple is going to come in Q1 next year, right? So it's really challenging to keep up to speed and to pivot in the industry, as always, when you are at the edge of technology. But as things establish and become, more mature, I think it's going to become a little bit easier. And we're going to see in the next 5 years, the next Amazons, the next Googles, the next Ubers popping up left and right. And I'm really sure that a lot of them will come by leveraging those type of technologies.
Do you think that I had this idea because we live in maybe we wait. We live in this although it's not really registering in the filters here. Do you think I had this idea because we live in Ericeira and it's like a surfing paradise, surfing community. Everyone here is a surfer. I actually had this idea of making surf photography and making them as NFTs and making the like forcing in a way the surfers who want to get the photo, buying them from an NFT platform. So you get of course, with some watermark or something, and then the surfer needs to purchase his image as an NFT from OpenSea or from something. This is just like a little thing I had in mind, could be implemented here, and it's also good for
onboarding people.
Yeah, onboarding people into the space.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, you think it's cool, yeah?
I think it's cool. I think it makes sense. I'm a big fan of getting more people to understand what's happening in a manner that makes sense to them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we force feed technology into people and I don't like this metaverse thing because we all going to be sitting in a dark room wearing VR goggles and Zuckerberg is going to control our brains.
Doesn't necessarily needs to be like that.
It doesn't have to be like that.
Also, by the way, this is why I thought that Instagram could see potential rise, because I thought hey, you're going to an event and someone is taking photos, or you're going somewhere and or you're surfing and someone is taking photos, and then he's like, hey, where can I get this photo? And he's like, yeah, you should just tap in my OpenSea and see if you like it or not. And then he could get for whatever ETH or whatever, anything he wants, and put it on his Instagram page and kind of show off. He got this is my photo was photo by this photographer, and now it's an NFT on my profile. I think it will do a comeback, or some sort of a comeback in a in a way.
Yeah.
Interesting. Hey, you also mentioned originals for a second.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Because from what I understand, it's the basically using Bitcoin as an for the NFT marketplace.
Yeah, I mean it's in very simple terms is the same principle of NFTs. Right, but instead of that being on Solana or Ethereum or Avalanche or whatever, is using Bitcoin as sort of the ecosystem for that, and most importantly, Satoshis, right? So small fractions of Bitcoin, and that's being inscripted, not minted or anything like that, is being inscripted on Satoshis. And a lot of people are using that obviously for speculation, but also there is a lot of collectability behind that. Because there are rare Satoshis, meaning, Satoshis that were, on the first blocks or at a block that something really important has happened. So people also want to collect those Satoshis. And now there is a way for them to put a stamp or artwork or a piece of history or whatever on top of that thing. Yeah. So that's what has sort of happened, I would say, the last year.
The last year.
But Bitcoiners are hating it because, of course, the more busy you make the overall ecosystem become, the higher are the fees for transactions to happen and miners, right? So if the overall concept of Bitcoin is a decentralized currency on which, everybody can partake, is permissionless, and anyone in the planet that doesn't even have a bank account can now be part of the global financial system, the least thing you want to have is have to pay $30 to send you $10, right? And that's what's happening right now because the network has got really busy because of Ordinal. So there's a hate and love relationship there.
Yeah. But also there is a solution in a way.
Well, you're building
Lightning
more
network, and which is very efficient.
Sure, but also you're building more utility on the overall ecosystem of Bitcoin, a part of just being a transactional element.
You're adding
right?
culture.
Yeah, you're adding culture. You're also building new infrastructure because you couldn't do that before.
Yeah,
they had to build new infrastructure on the chain to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
So you're building more infrastructure within that that ecosystem, which some people are pissed off about, because for them it should be just money transfer.
Yeah.
Others are like, no, Bitcoin can be much more than that. Look at Ethereum, look at other protocols and networks. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's kind of like what's happening.
Yeah. Can you give a quick overview about what's the difference between, because now basically I don't see, from my non-tech, non-engineering perspective, I don't see much difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum, other than that Bitcoin is limited in supply and Ethereum is not really limited. So because you can build on top of Bitcoin as well. So what's the big difference between them? If you understand my question?
I understand your question. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to break that down from like an architecture point of view.
Yeah.
Like how exactly operates, and one is more scalable than the other, or what is the mechanics behind it. I think there's two core elements here, right? The first one is the shift that Ethereum has done from proof of work to proof of
stake.
Proof of stake,
Yeah.
which it's fundamental. Is a fundamental change, and many argue that is a way that has made Ethereum less decentralized. So that probably is one of like core differences today. The second thing is that many argue that the language used for programming on Bitcoin on Ethereum is much simpler to learn and easier to get people to develop on. And also you have different elements of like smart contracts that have been developed by Ethereum that help easier way on which the overall network can scale from a integration or development perspective. Again, that's me paraphrasing a lot of things that I've heard. I'm not deep enough within the tech layers to fundamentally give a proper take on that.
I understand. No, completely. I'm just curious. I'm like talking, with you and like bashing it back and forth, because this was the whole thing. Bitcoin is just Bitcoin and Ethereum is like Ethereum, but you can build on top of that. And suddenly this new thing come on top of Bitcoin, which makes it looks like, hey, you can actually build on top of Bitcoin as well. I'm just curious.
Totally. I'm curious on that too. And that's what I was excited about Ordinals in that sense, not because of the speculation and all the bullshit that we always do when you find a new shiny technology, like we did with Bored Apes and all of that, right? But it's exactly what you just said, right? When you think about your phone, the first app I had on my phone was a lighter. I don't know if you remember that time. You had a lighter, or you have like a glass of beer that you could sort of like pretend you're drinking on your phone, and it would be reactive based on
I was a BlackBerry in the beginning. I had BlackBerry.
Right.
I thought that would be like the new thing, And then I moved to iPhone a bit later.
You don't remember the first app you ever had?
When I moved from BlackBerry to iPhone, there was already Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. So my first app was this lighter, and I would like literally tap the screen and a flame would show up out of the lighter, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, but you couldn't light anything.
You couldn't do anything.
Yeah, so it's just
like an on-screen lighter. Yeah. And for a lot of people, that was it. Oh, we now having those phones that are super expensive in our pockets, those microcomputers, and all we can do is to light a lighter. Yeah. Right. And I always use that example. Look what we do now, right?
Yeah.
We can order cars, we can order food, we can like do everything.
Yeah.
And the parallel I'm trying to build here is that's exactly where we still are with those technologies. So when we talk about ordinals or when we talk about NFTs,
so it's like the lighter.
It's just the lighter.
It's just the beginning.
Oh, those apes are ugly. Why are people paying 400 grand for those apes?
I actually think they're really cool.
Yeah,
it's
cool. Taste. It's taste. I haven't bought because I thought they were ugly.
When I looked at the first, I remember the Winklevoss brothers put them on Twitter, and I didn't got the connection. They were like putting it on their Twitter, and then the Winklevoss, and then after a couple of weeks, it started showing everywhere. Everywhere, everyone is talking about the apes, and suddenly I went on OpenSea, And I started, hey, I can play with that. Who, like an ape with a hat, an ape without a hat, this color and filter, and actually can see what's where. And I was like, I couldn't leave it for like at least 2 or 3 days. I was like, wow, this is cool. That's like a whole like characters and they are going for something big, I think. You
Already,
know?
yeah.
I think the Yuga Labs. I think they're going for something huge. That's what I think.
Yeah, I didn't want to pay $1,000 on that because I thought they were ugly.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
So just going back to your point, you know, like the beauty on top of Bitcoin. So I think that's kind of like where we are still, you know, we are on that lighter moment where people are like, oh, that's all you can do. And we start seeing like more and more things develop, more people being interested, more organizations utilizing it, more companies, more, you know, more demand, more onboarding, more people. So I feel that those things will keep moving forward and doors like those that, you know, started with ordinals, but now you can start off like building almost like dApps, you know, decentralized applications on top of Bitcoin. Those things going to change forever as well, the ecosystem, right? The main problem, and that's again where a lot of people argue, is will Bitcoin be able to withstand that amount of things that we're going to start putting on top of it, as it was not initially developed and built for that.
That's
because
the infrastructure.
If you start having to pay $100 on a transactional fee to send money to each other, what is the point of having Bitcoin?
Yeah,
right.
no.
So I think that's I would say that the biggest question that is being asked right now compared to like why can't we do the same things as Ethereum? Because Ethereum has a very different role within that system. You know, like gas fees at Ethereum is extremely expensive every time, anytime, because it's not meant to be a layer of the infrastructure which we transact financially, right? It's literally to build dApps on top of it. That's why you have L2s and L3s, right?
Yeah, this is another thing. I always make. Makes me always confused. This layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. I just need someone to an on-chain. This on-chain, just the term on-chain and layer 2 and I just don't. If you can just organize my head for a minute and just tell me, okay, this is layer 1, this is layer 2, and I would be like, okay, I understand what's going on. So Ethereum is layer 1.
It's an example. It's one-off. Like there's many others, right? But
Solana is layer 2. No, Solana is layer 1.
Solana's layer 1 too, yeah. It's a different network. Yeah. So
okay.
it's basically the top layer of the overall network where you know, the overall tooling and ecosystem is built.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, there's high price. Solana is different. I don't technically don't understand the differences, but you don't have high fees on transaction on Solana, even though it's a layer L1, right? But then you have things, for example, like Polygon on Ethereum, which is a side chain of Ethereum that is operating on L2, for example.
Polygon is an L2.
Yeah, it's a layer.
Polygon is a
layer 2 of Ethereum, for example. So there is where you have like very small fees as well, and it's
just become much more efficient and much more clear for transaction.
Exactly.
Any kinds of transaction, NFTs and this and whatever.
For example, Web3 gaming, there's a lot of being built on Polygon because of that, right? I mean, you don't want to. You have to do 1,000 transactions while you're playing a game throughout the day.
You don't want to lose,
you know, pay
$100
$150 to be able to go from word 1 to word 2. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
So those are things that are interesting in that sense. And then like on chain is literally things that are using the blockchain, meaning are being written or operated against blocks, right? Because everything is. Blockchain is a chain of different blocks, and whatever you deploy against a certain block is being on chain. The difference is that you can do a lot of things off chain that don't necessarily have to be on the blockchain, but they happen separately off chain on, you know, sometimes centralized service, which isn't ideal, but it happens. And then from there, what you can do is that you have one transaction that you can put everything that has happened before off chain. And you can just sort of like give a log of what has happened on chain, right? So you don't need to do all those transactions every time on chain. It's almost like you would have offline and online mode, right? You do all this bunch of things offline, and then there's a certain point you don't necessarily sync it all, but you give almost like a snapshot of what has happened before.
I understand.
So fundamentally, that's the difference. Again, I'm a marketeer, I'm a brand guy, I'm a strategist. I'm speaking about things I hear, but I'm not deep into the tech world to know if those are the specifics.
For sure.
Of it.
It's just like so fascinating how everything is.
Oh, it's a huge rabbit hole.
Yeah, but you are like, you have to know. You have to be in. I mean, you can't be a marketer in. That's the thing. You know a lot, and you can't be a marketer in Web3 without getting the whole. Get your head around everything and pretty much know everything, because you need to know every aspect of it. You need to know not every. I don't need to specifically need to sit down and write code.
Yeah.
But you need to understand those things.
You need to understand the ecosystem.
Yeah, you need to understand the ecosystem. Yeah, so I was just super curious. AI, another subject, okay? I'm sorry, I cannot see. I mean, I can see, but it almost felt like the minute AI became like it was about like when Midjourney started to kick in and ChatGPT about a year ago, let's say, more or less, when it became really mainstream. And suddenly the whole Web3 ecosystem started to talk AI. Where are they merged? Where are they merged practically? Can you get, do you understand my question?
Understand.
Because I don't see the connection. I see one as this a new infrastructure for transaction and for building thing, and one is a tool for making mundane tasks more simplified tasks and doing things more easy and more quick. How they are merging?
Yeah, I have two examples of where that merging is needed, possible, and makes sense. So the first one is in the now, and the second one is like future, right? So in the now, what is the biggest problem AI has created since its inception?
People are afraid that it will steal their jobs, for example. This is one thing. Am I mistaken?
I mean, it's one thing. What else? Let's see if we are on the same page.
What was the question again?
What is the biggest problem that AI has created so far that everybody's concerned with, or
Okay, people are concerned that it will eventually be more intelligent than humans. That
AGI and all of that is going to happen for sure, right?
Yeah, it will be more intelligent than humans. And if it will have some sort of conscience? What will happen if the AI will have conscience and it can trick humans? So this is a problem. The job market is a problem. Yeah. This is two big problems I see.
Yeah, but those are future, right? They haven't happened yet.
No, not now.
I'm talking about the one that has happened now.
Okay, so I have no idea.
Basically, misinformation.
Okay.
Fake news at scale.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Pope wearing the puff jacket?
Yeah, okay.
Have you seen Trump being arrested in New York and running around?
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that type of thing has accelerated the already ginormous problem we have with fake news and misinformation on the web.
Okay.
Right? Because now it's not just some shady news media creating fake news to steer directions of either election or people's mind or putting people against the others. Now you can do that at scale by prompting a couple things in one software, copying that prompt and then generating images and all of that, putting up a couple websites that can be fed through AI already, and there we go, the perfect storm, right? So if you look at that as a problem that we already have seen, identified, and it's happening, it's growing every single day, and when you get into much more delicate topics like wars and elections and all of that, like, who the fuck's telling the truth? Yeah. What is the truth? What's the source of the truth? Impossible to know today, right? Big problem. So what is interesting on that intersection between AI and blockchain is that if you think about the proof of ownership that we talked before, or proof of origin that we already mentioned on, supply chain or where products are coming from, and you can prove, different things with that. There is a huge opportunity for blockchain to play a role within that problem that AI has created, which is proof of source or proof of information, right? So imagine if you can write an article and then you have a Getty image in that article that shows Trump being arrested in New York, right? But you can see whether that is really from Getty, who is the photographer, when was it taken, and you can verify at least the source. It's impossible to verify whether that happened or not, which is the second difficulty, but verify the source of information.
Okay.
And that becomes interesting. That becomes exciting because now if, you know, like let's say a media channel put an image out, you're able to track back where that image was taken, what is the source, who is the photographer, what is the date, what is the geolocation, and that can be proofable on-chain if you want, for example, right? So that's where I think that there is a huge opportunity. There are many projects already out there aiming and tackling that specific issue. There is one company from friends of mine called NFT Now, and they launched a whole protocol to do that for media news, right? So all their articles are being put on chain as soon as they are released. And whenever they are being used out of the world, you can track back whether that's coming from them or not.
Okay. So at least...
It's another layer of trust. I'm not saying it's going to solve the problem of misinformation because that's a much deeper thing.
I see where it goes. So what happens is that you have this crazy technology that basically, by putting in a couple of words and giving it a couple of directions, you can create the craziest image and create basically... And publishing it and creating this sort of, like, as you said, a perfect storm.
Yeah. It's already showing up on Google Images, right?
Yeah.
If you go on Google Images, you see a bunch of stuff and you don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah,
Is that really a picture or is that an AI image? I don't know.
So what you suggest, you not suggest, you say it's already happening.
It's happening.
That Web3 will inject some sort of code or some sort of, will basically take a real piece of information, a real piece of media, a real photo, and put it on the blockchain. So we will have a proof of its reality,
source,
proof of reality, proof of source.
Yeah, that's exactly
cool.
what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool.
We just need to be mindful again, and I want to say that twice.
So imagine
it's not solving the problem because a photographer can take a photo in a certain angle and pretend that that's the truth, and then it's traceable.
Not
the
solving
source
the problem.
of the information is a human at the end of the day, and if the human has bad intentions, there's no technology that can solve it.
But you can at least, something. You can at least, if you get like a video. Okay, imagine. Okay, someone wants to. How do they say that? Squeeze money out of you. Someone wants to get money out of you somehow, and they send you like this video of you with a hooker or something, and they say we're gonna send that to your wife, but that's and this is never happened. That's something that like
AI generated.
AI generated. Yeah, we have this image of video of you, but it's never happened. So basically, you can take that video and sort of like scan it and prove that it has any verification of the truth, or it didn't generate it in a, like you can say like each Sony camera or each Canon camera would inject sort of a proof that, I don't know, like I'm going forward a bit with that, but like make sure that the technology will put everything on chain as it's being created. The files of the camera will go already
with something that proves that is true.
Yeah. The question: what happens if you tell the AI, hey, can you copy that that blockchain code and put? That's crazy, and it will be like an endless battle. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And so that's one that's happening now.
Now, yeah, and
right?
for the future.
And for the future. So here's a big rabbit hole. So if you think that we are moving towards a new internet, and this new internet or the next iteration of this internet is going to be blockchain based, what's going to happen as a default is that we're going to start tokenizing things, right? We already seeing the real world assets being tokenized, right? You can buy a piece of land, and that piece of land can be represented by an NFT on the blockchain, and that represents ownership of that piece of land digitally. Yep. And you can transfer, you can buy, you can do different things with that ownership of that piece of land. It's already happening, it's already reality. There's a bunch of different companies doing that. There's one piece of land here. And there's one company here in Portugal that is doing that already. Super interesting and exciting, right? It's called Proper Home. It's called Proper Home. Friends of mine as well. They're tokenizing real estate on blockchain, basically. I don't want to go too deep into that because my point is other. So as we go towards that tokenized internet where everything is going to be tokenized, right? You have digital currencies that are essentially tokens. You're going to have different images because people are going to own their images or photos or whatever through those tokenizations. We're going to have membership and loyalty programs that are going to be tokenized. I know at least 10 from the Fortune 500 group of brands that are working actively right now to launch digital membership programs next year that are blockchain based. So everything is going to get tokenized in that sense, right? So as soon as those things are getting more and more tokenized, what's going to come at the same time and is already being developed are agents, AI agents, right? So those are agents that will operate on your behalf, almost like an assistant, but is an AI-based assistant, 24 hours, almost like Siri, but a smart Siri, right? So what's going to happen with AI agents that we're already seeing more and more and is already developing as well is that you're going to tell them to do things, like go to Expedia, book me a flight to Israel on those dates, and blah, 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 right? So you give a command and an action will come after that command, right? The thing is that as soon as everything becomes more and more tokenized, those agents will be able to operate on your behalf to buy, trade, sell, tokenized things on the web, right? And if you think about what's going to power the financials behind it, I deeply don't believe that's going to be banks, because I don't think you're going to be able to open a bank account for your AI agent any soon. So what's going to power that is going to be something that is as simple as you go to Google Chrome and you install a wallet and you can create 1,000 different wallets for free, and you can connect your agent with that wallet and you put some money on that wallet and that agent goes around the web doing things on your behalf. So that's where cryptocurrency, blockchain, and tokenization of anything will be connected with AI in a way that I think is going to be extremely powerful. But that's later, right? That's a vision. That's much more blue sky.
I love this vision. I really love this vision. I actually had something similar. I was thinking about imagine robots. Could be like technology robots inside a computer, like a bot or something. But it could also be like a robot, like trimming your grass, your lawn, and your robot is like somehow trading and getting paid for doing its job with some sort of a currency, and he rewards itself, like, okay, you did your job correctly. It could be any kind of robot, as I said. And when he gets rewarded, he gets some sort of a currency. Could be like Satoshis, could be whatever. And he uses these Satoshis or these currencies to exchange for battery power.
100%. That's exactly what you said, is exactly what brought me into blockchain. In 2017, because that's IoT, right? Internet of Things, connected to micropayments, which is the base of the next revolution, the next industrial revolution. Machine-to-machine communication, machine-to-machine micropayment, and you can scale that up to B2B, right? You have a bunch of factories, one beside of each other, they belong to different groups, but that factory needs that part.
Yeah.
But you don't have like humans carrying those shit around, right?
Yeah.
You have the robots carrying, here's the part, here's the money. They go back to their factory and keep building their things. Right? And all of that gets automated within those industrial polos. And that's exactly what brought me into the space.
Even imagine that your agent is some sort of a bot that you basically rent it, or you basically hire it for a year, or lease it for a year or something. And the way he makes money, or the company who rents it makes money, you give him like, okay, give me, take $100 and get me the best deal for a flight for Israel. And his job is to try and find you a flight for less than $100, and the rest is the arbitrage that created could be the profit. So it's like always like like a race, getting more efficient, better, and more efficient, and more sustainable even, because less battery power is less. So it's like a crazy future, man. That's like really intense. I love it. I love this thought.
That's another rabbit hole.
Yeah, very big.
Because then on the tokenization as well, there's a company that I advise and work with. It's called Smart Token Labs, and what they do is they do smart tokens. So they basically make every single token smart in a way on which those tokens can also become almost like micro applications, like the ones you have on your phone.
Yeah.
So let's say you book that flight, and you book also through that application within that token, you book the car rental, you book the hotel, and you book like an attraction you're gonna go to see, right? Problem is your flight's delayed. What happens now? You need to make phone calls. You need to go through a bunch of different servers and providers and different things. With those smart tokens, things are if this, then that, if this, then that. If flight delay, then change the pickup of the car, then notify the hotel, then notify the attraction. And then things can happen because those smart tokens will have some funds on it, and they can pay for, small changes or small fees or small things, and you have to do nothing. All you've done was booking flight and booking those things. So, that's sort of like that next layer of smart tokens and the tokenization of the web, which we are not there yet, but there's a lot of infrastructure for us to, when we get to it, to enable that to happen. And that's going to streamline everything.
Yeah.
And here again, right, why Web 2 is not possible with that? The current model on which Web 2 is based, which is centralized and siloed database, is that you cannot have those integrations.
No.
Expedia cannot talk with the other company without doing data integration. Which currently, we can't do it.
It's trying. You can get Google Calendar to kind of sync with Google Maps and kind of like tell you if there's a traffic jam and hey, you should leave early. It's kind of working.
But it's all Google.
Yeah, but it's all Google. Yeah, I understand. And it's not really 100% there yet from starter. It's still like, and it's not, it might be that they will generate some sort of a Google agent and it will do your job. Yeah, but
I'm sure they will.
You could put like some sort of deposit some money into your Google agent and he does your tasks.
Yeah,
it's possible.
And that's also bullish for crypto, because if you think about what you just said, deposit some money, and they do some tasks. Bank's gonna take 2 to 3 business days to make that transaction to happen, and in crypto it takes seconds.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, especially if you are talking about worldwide transactions.
Totally.
Pay my graphic designer in the Philippines, pay my apartment in Brazil. I need to everything. Yeah, it's for sure very very bullish for crypto. Although this was my other question, because we are actually talked about it, but I'm gonna say what I wanted to say and then ask you, and then after this we're gonna have one last question. So what I wanted to say is, do you think? Oh wait, I'm completely inside the rabbit hole. I got a bit not focused here. Let me just recap my...
Imagine that's where I live.
Where were we? I lost the...
We were bullish for crypto, how the financial systems...
Yeah, traditional system banks.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So imagine... so my question is, how do you see the traditional system coping with the new financial system, DeFi and all those things? Do you see them going side by side together, or eventually one of them will dissolve? Having said that, I also see big improvement in the traditional system. I start to see that SEPA movements are becoming very quick, for instance, and I see that they are really strive to get things way more quicker and way more efficient. what's your take on that? Traditional versus traditional finance system versus DeFi, in a way, in the most basic layer ever.
Yeah.
You don't need to dive into DeFi, the
Totally,
rabbit hole of
totally.
DeFi, because I'm completely.
We need another 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think that there's two ways to look into that. There is the person that is not necessarily maxi about their freedom of choice and freedom of financial freedom and things on that sense, and the person that is. For the person that is, crypto is going to be the only way, because they want to detach from the system. They don't want to be controlled. They don't want to have the risks of government stepping in because they have said something on X that they disagree with and their accounts are frozen.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a big part of the crypto industry that is extremely concerned about the overall control that the government has, executed on top of a lot of different people around the world, especially within the last 3 to 4 years during pandemic, on which a lot of people fled to crypto because they want to seek for a space on which they can do whatever they want with their money without being concerned that someone can just take it from them.
Yeah.
So I think that this is one side. More extreme, more niche exists, and a good part of the industry is based on that. The other part is the mainstream person, the person that doesn't give a fuck about it, right? 99% of the world in reality. And for those people, I think that the banks are the oldest systems in the planet, right? They've been sort of like adapting and getting better and changing and mutating throughout our history as humanity, right? So thinking that they will disappear, for me, it's crazy to imagine, because they are very good at adapting, and they proved that already throughout the different evolutions we've gone through. The latest evolutions being, for example, Revolut, N26, and those banks, right? Like, it's incredible. I love it. It's like super easy to do. It connects really close with the new generations, the way they want to be able to transact and operate, right? So I think that what is happening more and more right now, especially because I've worked with different payment system companies, and also have advised a couple of different banks on different strategies, is that they are embedding a lot of those new technologies into their services as well. One, to make it more efficient, exactly what I just said before, but also two, to become more attractive. Because they know the new generation is going to look much more to that direction I mentioned before. So they want to make sure that they are also being able to present or to offer those services. Yeah. So I believe that the future for the mainstream is going to be the hybrid. It's going to be, like the option of like navigating into the two sides of it. We're seeing all central banks around the world talking about, CBDCs, central bank-based currencies. Digital currencies. So we're seeing all of them doing movements. We're seeing all, central banks. There is a lot of different programs in Portugal from the banks actually trying to also implement, variations of the digital euro and different things in that direction. So I don't think they're going to stay behind. I think they're waiting for the right moment. We're seeing a lot of conversation around also hedge funds like BlackRock and other ones already looking to the speculation element of different currencies. Maybe they're going to be a Bitcoin ETF, maybe not. We don't know. We'll see. But I don't think that they are sleeping on it. Yeah. I think they're being very strategic about it, and being very smart, because they understand the threat, but they understand the opportunity. But I think that for that sort of like persona I said before, crypto today is the only exit.
Of course, 100%. I couldn't agree any more. I think they will stay side by side. Yeah, and there will be a big hybrid market, as you said. It will be a hybrid. It will be like, maybe you can move quickly CBDCs between personal, but you still have a custodian. Kind of easier, more easier to manage in a way, especially for older people, and also for younger people. You lose your keys or you lose your thing, you have a custodian. Way easier, very safer. So maybe hybrid solution is really what will happen. And for that niche, as you said, like the specific 1% or a few percent that wants to be completely under the radar, complete privacy, complete control of their financial. They would have their own seed phrase.
Yeah.
They would have their own thing, and if they want, they pack their seed phrase and go to another place. Nobody knows nothing.
Yeah.
Very true. I agree a lot. One last question, Giogo. December 2033, 10 years from now, how do you see the space? It's a big one, huh?
That's
it's very
$1
hard.
trillion question.
Yeah, and it's of course, it's not a financial advice. You don't have to be. I originally thought I would ask you what would be the price of Bitcoin.
69 million.
in December 2033, but it doesn't need to be like a specific number. It doesn't need to be actually specifically on Bitcoin. It's just like a 2-minute glimpse. If we had like something, what's your point? What's your perspective?
Yeah, I think that there's two ways, and I'm always like the positive guy, right? So I'm always on that direction. So I'll start with that. That way is we'll see more and more implementation of these technologies. We'll see more and more decentralization of power. We'll see much more ownership of the internet overall. We'll see much more people being rewarded by their data or by their efforts or what they are actually doing within different systems or websites or different things, and they're being rewarded by that, right? So there is a much more ownable, immersive web on which people feel more part of, and they are also taking stakes or pieces of it. On the way, different than what we have today, which is, we are basically the product for all those big corps to make money off, right? So that's sort of like the direction that I'm seeing. I'm seeing obviously that hybrid model in the financial system. I'm seeing the over 1 billion unbanked that exists today that are basically neglected by the by the banking systems, being able to transact and be part of separate economies on which they can make livings off and sustain their families and create their own ecosystems and sell their products and buy goods and all of that. So that's what I'm seeing, like that more positive side of things moving forward, and how this technology is going to help us to get there to a more equal, well-balanced and decentralized web. But obviously, as the web is a crucial part of our life, in a way in which more people can have more rights and equality in terms of financials, for example. The other side, which is something that we definitely shouldn't sleep on, when we start talking about CBDCs and we start talking about central bank and banks and governments issuing their own digital currencies, that can get sketchy really quickly, right? Because if you understand everything we've been talking before and the beauty of smart contracts and sort of like if this and then that, the power lays on one, the code, and two, who has written that code.
Yeah.
Right. So depending on the circumstance you've put on the smart contract, that's going to allow you to do things or not. Right. And if you have looked into current central bank based smart contracts that are being deployed today when it comes to digital currencies, a lot of them maintain rules like the traditional banking system has today, which is they can freeze accounts, they can blacklist wallets, and they can basically suspend people from interacting within the system.
Yeah.
Meaning this can become extremely powerful for governments, central banks, and banks if they are able to do that because, let's say on the dark side, again, we fast forward to a world on which whatever you're publicly saying can, sort of like have repercussions on your financial side of things, right? Let's say like the truckers in Canada that were opposing the vaccine. They got their bank accounts frozen because they were protesting against it, right? So let's say we go to a reality that becomes more prominent. Will be much easier for the government to have control over people because of the technology. Because, they can literally say, Diego owns this wallet because he had to KYC, and we know that is him. And now his X account because he had KYC, and we know it's him because that's one of plans from Elon as well, right? To make everybody an actual user, not anons, because that's the way you're gonna take away a lot of the problems the platform currently have.
Yeah.
And you can connect the two. It's a way on which you can stop people's fund, or you can blacklist them so they cannot interact anymore, or you can basically avoid people having access to their money.
So you can have, if someone is being suspicious, slightly suspicious to the government, or slightly saying things that are a bit worrying, or let's say making someone, not in the wrong stream, let's say it like that. They could be like suspended like that.
Yeah.
Which may be why many people will keep something off on chain, like on a seed phrase or something like that on the side always.
Yeah.
To have something like more protected
Plan
and more
B,
privacy. Yeah, a plan B.
Because the initial idea, especially from the digital euro, and we have seen the European Union talking a lot about that, is that they won't get rid of cash. No, it's going to be the two. It's going to be the two. It's going to be the two. But every time politicians speak about something, you need to be suspicious, because they keep saying it's going to be the two, but maybe it won't be the two. And if they get rid of cash, and then how do you transact if not under their circumstance of the digital money that they've created, they have full control over? What I'm saying is possible today, and it happens today through banks, is a much deeper layer and much more difficult for them to do, but it does happen.
Yeah.
Right? But with that potential scenario, which hopefully is not going to unveil and I'm going to be absolutely wrong, it just makes it easier for them to control it.
Yeah.
And that can be one of the dangers of that technology that we fell in love with and we are so passionate about, because it does exactly that, right? Like depending on how the circumstances are written on the contract, there is someone that can have power over everything.
Yeah, exactly. It could mean that, they say it all the time, you would own nothing and be happy, kind of like this, because the CBDC, you wouldn't own it. It would be like just something absolutely amazing. Yeah, so keeps me thinking.
The idea of what I just said is not to make people afraid, it's just to make us aware. Because when we start seeing the things happening, we're going to be like, I heard about that before, right? Like, let's have a look at this. Let's see what we can do about it, rather than just like, oh, we didn't know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Be prepared, or at least be aware of something.
Yeah, just be aware.
Diogo, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure, really interesting, really inspiring, amazing talk. I had enjoyed every minute. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.